Alright, well, this just finally came in the mail, and you guys are going to be in for something interesting. I said in my previous video that I was finally going to get to these, so now we're finally going to get started. Alright, well, here it is. Alright, so here it is, the Asagi Igawa from Taimanin, from the Taimanin visual novel series. And if you know anything about Taimanin, you know that it's a very particular type of visual novel. And what I basically mean is, without beating around the bush, is that it's hentai. So this will probably be one of the first hentai figure reviews that I'm going to do. I have all three of the Taimanin figures. So I have Asagi, Sakura, and Yukikaze. So I'll get to the other two in due time, but today we're going to talk about Asagi and show how based on my first impressions after taking it out of the box, that this is definitely a figure you're going to want to track down. Just be careful of bootlegs and crazy secondhand prices. So let's get started. Asagi stands at about, let's say 6.3, 6.2 inches. A little over 6 inches, like I'm gonna say about 6, which means she's about almost 15 centimeters. That's like 14.9 or 14 point something centimeters. So not the tallest figure, but it'll fit in with other 1 to 1/12 scale figures. So there's that. So let's start with the articulation. So the head is actually on a pretty interesting. So it's on a neck hinge right here. So the hinge goes up and down. And then the head itself can wiggle. It's like on a ball peg, so it can just kind of just go all over the place. But here's the interesting thing. So once you take off the head, also be careful with these little strands of hair. You can see right here that it's similar to like the Teruaki figures, where or some of the Dragon Ball ones, where there's like a hinge or something connecting the hair to the neck, but it's also like literally on a ball joint. Like, see, like it doesn't do much on its own, but it's almost like a double ball peg or something. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I've never seen a neck look like this, like where it has like this weird face, like this thing right here where the face goes, and then the neck hinge. So can't move the neck side to side, but I don't think you're gonna need it all that much, because there's a lot of other ways you can make the figure move the way you need to. Let me just put this back on. You can kind of see it right here, but the arms actually do have a butterfly joint, and they move to the side about, from the top they can move around this much, and then there's a bicep swivel right here in between the armor and the fishnet pattern. So you can kind of turn it like this. You can have Asagi's arm go all the way to her shoulder, which I think is really impressive for a figure like this, especially at the price point, because this thing is like supposed to be over $100, so you better be getting your money's worth. Yeah, so we can go around like that. Same thing on the other arm. And have it go. Yeah, you can have her cross her arms and do like this kind of pose, which I think is pretty cool. Obviously the only thing you can't do is have the arms go all the way across, like from the middle. She has these giant tits. The giant tits kind of get in the way. So you kind of can't do like a normal cross arms, like the way you normally would. And because of the way the tits are, you're a little limited in how you can do a lower type of cross arms, because shoulder will will bump into the sides here. But here's the crazy thing. This figure has articulated boobs. You can turn them around like this. Move it to the side. There you go, see, now it's a bit wider. Or you can turn it counterclockwise, or clockwise on this side. Have them a bit closer together. You ever seen a fucking figure with articulated boobs? Not until now, I guess. You can even move them up and down. See, this is neutral, and you can have it go all the way up like this. And then kind of move them to the side like that. So, then you kind of can bring the arm all the way to the side. And there you go. Now you get a more natural looking arm cross. I think it's pretty fantastic, especially because, you know, this is all like hard pieces of plastic. It could have very easily just made like soft boobs or something, which I think maybe could have worked. But I really appreciate them being able to pull something like this off. You know, but back to the arms. Ignore the titties. Yeah, so both arms. Shoulder joint can go around like this. It kind of goes up and down. Shoulder joint moves with the arm, so I'm not sure what's going on there. The arms actually go all the way to the side. But I'm not sure what's going on with this one. It kind of, the hinge or something in there kind of forces it to fall down. You see? It kind of makes posing it a little annoying. You kind of have to force it to stay like that. So you do get you do get like a T-pose if you really need one. So you get a T-pose. Now that we're doing the T-pose. Oh, never mind. Alright, so the hand is on a Figma style hinge, ball peg. So you see right here, it turns around like this. You can turn it so it goes horizontal. And then you can just peg the hand mag on, which is super easy. You can find the hand. And there you go. Fairly simple. Don't complicate hands any further. Oh yes, I forgot to talk about them. So in addition to that bicep swivel that's on the inside of the arm, has, I don't know if it's a double jointed knee, but this knee, not a double jointed elbow, but it goes way more than 90 degrees. So I think that's pretty good. So kind of wish it would bend more, but I think due to the way this is sculpted, it doesn't have enough leeway. Also, they actually bothered to paint the joint to match the fishnet. Some companies don't even bother to paint the, the bending parts of the figure. And just look at that. A fucking hentai figure can do it. Yeah, so there's that. And now we can talk about the upper body. So you can move so we talked about the articulated boobs earlier, but you can go all the way up like this. Both. Go all the way down. Like that. Turn them to the side. On both sides. And then you can turn them inward, which will probably clash a little bit, but you can get it to work. And now we can do the upper body properly. So you can see right here, it's already like partially segmented. So the upper body, I think, is on a ball joint, and I believe also the like abdomen area See right here. You can go like this. It can lean over this much because because I think it's like a ballpoint with a hinge. So I think it's connected to the ballpoint, but it's also on a hinge. So you can lean about that far in, which I think is pretty good, and that's not even counting the upper body part. And then on its own, as much as I can, it leans that far back, which I think is pretty good. Check that out. And then side to side is actually pretty good. It goes like this, and then it goes like that. So it's not. So the range is actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And then you can combine it with this lower upper body part. Doesn't have the most movement due to the hip part of the diaper piece being a little too high up for my liking. It's way too high up, I think. But it lets you lean like this, which I think is pretty good. And then the same on the opposite side. Get some big lean to the side like this. And then if you combine both, you get a really good, I think you get a pretty good upper body ab crunch, considering like the shape, certain parts of this figure. So I think that's pretty good. And I think if you move these, you can get a little bit more. Oh no, you can't, because that's how it's cut. Okay. So these don't really get in the way, which is good. And then going back, get this crazy, like, Marvel Legends kind of, like, going back, but without the shitty, like, hinge. I don't ever understand why figures can go back more than they can go forward, but whatever. Alright, so now for the lower body, the diaper piece is kind of like this. Fortunately, it does have sculpted butt cheek, but you're probably more interested in her butt cheeks than I guess like a Dragon Ball character, unless it's Bulma or something. Alright, so this is how the legs work. I think the legs are kind of weird. They have like their own sort of hinge system, where it's like a multi-joint sort of thing instead of just one. So you can see clearly that there's like one type of joint that connects to the inside of the body on both sides. But this gap here also connects the leg to that other part, so it's like a weird two-sided sort of joint thing there. But it has a crazy range of motion. I'm gonna show you right now. Who's we? Why is it we? So it goes to the side. I'd say almost splits. It almost gets splits, which I still think is pretty good. And you're gonna definitely need that split for certain poses that this character should be doing. And then get a pretty good kick. Let me fix this torso. Get a pretty high kick here. I think that's fantastic. And then you get a double jointed knee, which goes about this far. Could have gone a bit more if they sacrificed a bit more of the back of the leg, but in the back of the legs, but it's okay. It's still really impressive. So it goes about this far, which I think is pretty damn good. And then if you combine it with the leg joint, you know, you get this really high up kind of kick. I think that's pretty impressive. think that's pretty impressive. And then the foot is on this ballpoint hinge kind of thing that like most figures have. I think this is actually a pretty good system. So, you know, it lets you turn it like this. My only problem is that I think this is how you have to turn it to the side. It looks kind of weird. So you don't get like a normal up and down, side to side sort of thing, but you can mess with this joint right here that lets it turn around, then you can get the foot to stay straight, but I don't know. Not my favorite part of it, but it's pretty good. Also, toe joint, toe hinge. Doesn't go super far, but considering she's wearing really big high heels, then you're not going to have to worry about it. All I want to say is that despite the fact that these are high heels, this figure can balance really well, and usually high heels like fucking suck on action figures. I don't know if that's just my experience with the Prekia figures, because they don't really have the best feet, or just Bandai's not always the best with foot articulation, but this figure can do some pretty good balancing, especially because it doesn't have anything crazy heavy. Alright, so that's about it. Hold on, one more thing I forgot to mention. The hair is articulated as well. You can move the hairs to the side, and then move this back one to the front, to the back. So you kind of get a little bit more range of motion off of that neck. See, now the neck moves a lot farther. You can actually move the other two back to the side because they don't affect it that much. But there you go. Looks up pretty far, and then looks down pretty far, way far. So there you go. Alright, so for me, I gotta give the articulation a 9, just because, like, yeah, it could have more here, but, and yeah, it doesn't, the butt cheeks get in the way, but, but, you can still kind of move all the way to the back, but it's not gonna, I don't count that because it just goes so far off to the side. So, at most you'll get the same amount as like a Dragon Ball figure, so, whatever. It's okay. Besides that, every other part of it articulates amazingly. I can show you like right here. You can get like this crazy splits right here. So you can get crazy splits like this. Of course, the figure itself can't balance like this due to the toes being a bit weak and balance not being perfect. But you're not going to be able to Ginyu pose, but you can use the figure stand to put it in whatever position you need. So the legs will be able to pose in the way you need it to. You can do super dynamic poses if you need to. So posability on this thing is fantastic. Okay, so now we gotta talk about the actual aesthetic, because I think you're supposed to do that first, but I always do articulation first because I think it's more important than how it looks. Although looks can be deceiving. Alright, so this is the Asagi Igawa metallic version. So it's a bit different from the regular version of it for Taimanin. You can actually see the difference here. You actually see the difference here in the manual. The manual has a more normal, like light purple sort of color. Meanwhile, this is obviously a way more metallic looking, because, you know, metallic version, so yeah, there you go. I'd say it looks really good, and I kind of preferred this version, because even though I think this is closer to her actual color in-game in the Taimanin series, this metallic color looks really fucking cool, and it sticks out. And it kind of helps make the clothing look more tight, because like the darker shades kind of wrap around curves and everything, so I think it looks pretty cool. But here's this for comparison's sake, just so you can kind of see it. Okay, so for aesthetic, alright, so for aesthetic, I think they actually got it really close. Or I think it's about as close as you can get. For a character that's primarily drawn in only 2 dimensions, they did a really damn good job. I don't play action Taimanin, so I can't really compare it to the 3D model in the gacha game. But I'll put something here on the side, I guess, to give you a proper comparison, because as much of a Taimanin fan as I am, I'm not like the biggest expert, since I've mostly kind of seen the anime. I have the game, but I haven't like really gone into it. But I've seen a bunch of the animes, and I've seen a whole bunch of other stuff. And I played the mobile game too. So I'd say the likeness on her face is extremely close, as close as they can get to the original artwork. I'd say it's pretty close. I'm gonna have to post pictures of the face, because this lighting fucking sucks. But they even got like the shortness of her eyes, because she doesn't have really tall eyes, she has more wide eyes. And the shape of her jaw and everything is pretty close. You even have like the pointed nose and everything. It matches the original art, and you can't really see her eyebrows due to the hair. But if I remember correctly, in the actual game, the eyebrows go through the hair so you can see it, which isn't my favorite thing, but that's there. The hair color they actually got pretty good. They got pretty well. It's like a dark grayish blue color, like a bluish gray. And they even have like some paint here where you can see that there's like a dark, like a blackish blue sort of in between. And they even have highlights right here. It's hard to see on the camera, but I'll post a picture. You can see that there's highlights right here in the to create a sheen for her hair. And then of course the 2 strands of hair that she always has, they look fine. The split hair looks pretty good. Like obviously this makes it look really obvious, but it's an action figure, what do you expect? And like I showed, yeah, those things around the joints, you can make it look a bit more dynamic. As for the body, which I'd argue is pretty important, I'd say that the proportions are spot on. Because Asagi has a pretty not slender or not skinny or anything, but she has pretty normal looking, like, somewhat skinny anime character figure, especially from the upper body, and they got like the massive tits, I think, about right. Like, this is like the right amount of volume, I think, for her tits. I'm gonna again post a picture somewhere. They even have the nipples fucking protruding from the clothes. Again, I'll post a picture of it. And then, not hourglass, I'd say, but pretty close. The hips kind of do go a bit inward. Not an hourglass, but it does go a bit inward. And then the hips. This is the only part of it I don't like, just because, see, you can see the indent of the hip here. But then the armor goes above it, which I guess makes sense, because that's how it is in the actual game. But because they didn't want to attach that part to this part, it's part of the diaper piece, so it kind of so that's the reason why it limits the side-to-side movement, and it just looked kind of weird because it sticks out. But I guess it was to hide however the torso looks here, so that it looks a bit more seamless, because you can see here in the back that it connects the metal part of the metal trim part of the armor to match the rest of it, so it kind of tries to make it look more seamless. And then of course this hinge here is kind of obvious, but you know, you can just hide it like this, or just go like that. You can just hide it, it's not really a big deal. Oh, and yeah, and then there's this part here. You're probably wondering why that looks segmented. But I'll get back to that in a second, because it's part of the accessories. And then the armor, the legs actually have a... Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the legs have a separate thigh swivel. so you can get more range out of the legs if you want to. Always have thigh swivels, please. This actually looks pretty seamless, minus like, you know, this big thing here, but I'd say it looks pretty good. Mine is a used figure that I got from Surugaya, so it's a bit not perfect because you can see there's some seam lines here, but I think that's just how the figure is. So just like some slight scratches I think on mine, but they're not very noticeable. And this marble kind of like super shiny metallic pattern looks great, and I'm pretty sure this video is not going to do it justice, especially with this shitty lighting. But all things considered, it's fine. And you can see right here, they actually gave it like a metal shine right here to the metallic parts of the armor. And then of course they separated it. Did a really good job separating it without it bleeding into the other ones, into bleeding into the armor, which, you know, usually you can fuck up on. And then on the back you can see the fishnet pattern, which is shiny. I don't know if it should be shiny since it's, you know, it's overlaid on skin, but whatever. I guess because it's the metallic one. I think what they could have done here is do a better job making it look normal here with the back of the knee joints, but you're not really gonna look at those. And then you see it seamlessly cuts here, connects to right here. And then the only part aesthetically that I don't like is the ball joint, because it just looks really obvious. But they tried to like hide it a little bit here, but you can still see it. Reminds me of the Hayabusa figure I reviewed where the ball joint was really obvious on the ankles. But other than that, I think this is an extremely accurate looking figure. Again, not the biggest Taimanin expert, but I remember when I saw the images for this figure originally, I was like, oh, that looks pretty fucking close. So aesthetically, I'll give it like a 9, because I think it's really damn close. And now we can finally talk about accessories. Alright, so for the accessories we have a bunch of 4 sets of extra faces, and 3 pairs of extra hands. You're probably wondering why I'm covering those 2 bottom parts there in between the sword and the sword sheath, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Alright, so for faces you get this more kinda smug looking expression with this nice slightly open mouth here and the more squinty eyes. I think this looks pretty good compared to the regular one that you can see right here. Like, yeah, the hair honestly makes it so that you can't see the face detail, but the rest, like the forehead and everything, but I think it looks pretty good in comparison. And taking off the hair, you can kind of see that she has like that. She has her eyes kind of more squinted and not angry looking, but like a more slightly angry, like more smug looking expression, which I think looks really damn good. Yeah, then you have this more aroused looking face or more like, slightly concerned or more like, gentle looking expression where her eyebrows are curving up from the front here, and then the eyes are still squinted, but it kind of looks a bit different, and then she has like a slightly open mouth here, so a bit different from this one. You can see a bit different, but still interesting. You get a more crazy looking expression here where her eyes almost look like they roll to the back of her head. She has her teeth gritting a little bit, and her eyebrows are still like rolling, still curving up. Not completely like orgasmic or something like that, but pretty close. Like this is like, I think you know what kind of scenario you would be in for this. And then of course the last expression is the trademark ahegao / like orgasming kind of face, where she just has her tongue sticking out and her eyes are just, you know, trying to roll all the way up to the top of her head, back of her head. Her eyebrows are more raised than sticking out. You can see it a little bit better when you take this off. I wish the hair didn't cover so much of the forehead so you could actually see the rest of it, but that's how it looks. Alright, so for hands, we get these more relaxed looking ones, which, you know, make them look like this. Some pretty relaxed looking hands. You get these two gripping hands right here. You can actually use these to hold the sword pretty well, and I don't know, figure out what else you want her to grab. And then of course you get like the obligatory peace sign hand for this kind of character. Put her in whatever situation you want. And then these sort of like creepy, like grabby kind of hands. You can actually manipulate it so that it looks like it grabs the titties, which I think is funny. The instructions and the instruction manual even tells you to do this. You can get it to grab like this or something. Maybe the regular open palm hands are better, but you can create this kind of scene if you feel like it. If you so desire, you can go like this, or you can have like a kind of ass grabbing sort of pose or something. It's up to you. But you can either make it so that she's grabbing her own ass or she's grabbing her own tit, so I think that's pretty funny. So like I said before, she has a set of gripping hands. You can actually use the hands to hold the sword properly. And due to the fact that it has that peg on the ball, it has that peg sticking out of the ball joint, you can make it so that there's an actual vertical hinge on the hand. Although right now I think it's horizontal. Yeah, see there's a horizontal hinge. So you can go in and out. And then you can get a vertical hinge so that the way she holds the sword looks a bit more natural. And I actually really like how they handled the sword here. So yeah, the sword sheath, the sword handle has a more simplified style of like doing the ropes on the katana, which, you know, not as detailed as the Hayabusa, but the paintwork on here is actually really good. The gold and the black, but you know, they kind of sacrifice the detail here, but it's fine. So this sword connects to the base through this little peg here. The hole is in a specific shape, so it can only go one way. And you just peg it on like that, and there you go. And if you so desire, you can have the sword be held in both hands by both of Asagi's hands. You can kind of go like this. Let's see if I can do it on camera. Probably not. Alright, there you go. Did it off camera. But yeah, you can have the hand connect the. You can have both hands connect to the sword. So you can get some pretty dynamic looking sword poses right here. This isn't really the most dynamic, but something like this. She's kind of like getting ready to slice with that crazy look on her face. Yeah, so you can get something like that. Little hole right here on the sword sheath, and on the sword sheath, and then you just plug it in right here on this back part. You can't get rid of that part, by the way, which sucks. But, so it's always there, but you just go like this. You can turn it around, and there you go. I wish there was some like fake like hole or something they could put on the top there, so that you can make it look a bit more normal. But you're always gonna have that peg there. So there's not really much you can do. So you can do that, something like that. And then of course, just take this off. And there you go, you can just leave the sword like that. You can make it look a bit more normal looking. Forgot to mention this, but this comes with a really neat figure stand. You can bend it with multiple joints, so at the front here it can go like that, and then of course there's a second one right here. Goes side to side like that, And then there's this one. It's a four-way thing. And then of course there's a hinge for the claw grip here. So I think this is actually a really good stand. My only problem is that they're very prone to scratching. This one came with a bunch of like scudge marks and everything, like smudge marks and scratches, but yeah, not that bad. That's the only other accessory. And then I also forgot to mention it comes with a little manual that shows you how to remove the parts of the figure and how to set certain things up. You can see here it shows how to remove the sword sheath, how to swap the hands, swap the face, and connect the sword to the back of Asagi. And then here you can see it shows the points of articulation, it shows that the hair moved, shows that you can swap that crotch piece, and then it shows that the boobs can be removed and you can swap them out for something else. And then it shows how the leg joints work. You see the leg joints have its own unique, interesting kind of system. Apparently you can kick the leg super high up, but I don't know if it works exactly like that. I don't know if it's a drop down or something else. And then there's an extra pose there in the back, in the bottom, that I can't show you. But I'm not done with the accessories because there's four more things that come with it, but 3 of them I can't really show easily on YouTube, so some of it you might have seen in the background, but let me get straight to the point. So the first accessory you get is this piece of actual fucking cardboard with all this stuff written on it, and I'm gonna let you figure it out for yourself how much what this means, but I just want you to know that it says Asagi is about 25,000 yen, I think. Yeah, so and it's no good, so have fun figuring that out. It's a really cool accessory because it's literally made out of cardboard, though. I'm not sure why. They could have just done plastic, but the fact that they actually use cardboard is pretty hilarious. Right, so my version of this came with the option part set for Asagi, and you're gonna want to take a look at this. Alright, so the option part is this enlarged stomach sort of thing. So what you do with this is that take this apart, put it on the back of Asagi, like this. Try and line it up with the way the stomach is, the way the back is and everything. So you hold it like that, I guess, from the back. Then snaps on, and then there you go. And then it looks like Asagi's obviously had too much to eat. It doesn't stay on the best. I'm not sure if I'm not doing it right. I think that snap means that like it's pretty close to being on there. Anyway, so it makes Asagi look either pregnant or she's eating way too much. But if you know, you know. Just saying, if you know, you know. So anyway, this was fucking like 3,000 yen, so this was like a $20 to $30 fucking accessory. And I don't know if it was worth it, but I really do like it because you can make it pretty funny looking. Oh, this thing's like stuck now. Alright. Overall, do I think that the hentai, second act's hentai action Taimanin ASAGI IGAWA figure, that's a fucking mouthful, is it worth the money? If you can get it for like the base, the price that it's supposed to be, which is like $120 or around $100 something, I'd say go for it. And if you want the fucking belly accessory thing, that's like an extra $30. So I'd say if you can get it for less than $180 or $170, fucking go for it. Because these things are being like ridiculously scalped right now online, and they're very hard to get. And there's also a ton of fucking bootlegs, on like AliExpress and other websites like Amazon, and they're trying to sell them for like $50 to $30, and that's not how much this item actually is. And I've seen how bad the bootlegs are, so trust me, you do not want them. Even the official Taimanin like YouTube account made a video making fun of the bootlegs and like showing like the differences between like an actual Asagi and Sakura versus like the fake one. So if you really want this and you're willing to live with shame, I guess, and have a figure with exposed boobies on your fucking shelf or something and a vagina, then go ahead. But I think it's totally worth it. The articulation on this gets like a 9. Aesthetic gets like a 9. Accessories, I give it like a 9 or 8. No, I gotta give it a 9. It's like 3 9s all across the board. So this is one of the best figures I've gotten so far, and I look forward to reviewing Sakura and Yukikaze in the future. So hopefully I can do more figure reviews soon. I don't even know if this is focusing. Hopefully I can do more figure reviews soon, and stay tuned for more, I guess.